What if I told you that the secret to youthful, resilient skin isn't hidden in a miracle bottle promising instant transformation, but in the biology you carry within you right now? You see, aging is not a single process. It's a network of biological signals, some accelerating decline, others quietly working to repair, renew, and restore. And what's fascinating is this: the same pathways that cause skin to sag can also be reactivated to rebuild firmness, elasticity, and glow. So when you hear a claim like 2 drops a day can eliminate wrinkles, it's worth pausing not to dismiss it outright, but to ask a deeper question. What mechanisms could make something like that possible? What would those 2 drops actually need to do inside the body? Would they need to stimulate collagen production, improve microcirculation, reduce chronic inflammation, protect against oxidative stress? Before we dive in, take a moment to subscribe to this channel, because today we're not just talking about wrinkles, we're talking about regeneration. We're talking about how blood vessels nourish your skin like roots feed a forest, how your immune system can either inflame or rejuvenate, and how your daily choices whisper instructions to your genes. Before revealing this oil to you, tell me down here where you are watching me from and how old you are. I will be reading you. Good, let's continue. An oil rich in bioactive fatty acids and antioxidants capable of interacting with the mechanisms responsible for skin firmness. Rosehip oil. And its key component, together with other active lipids, acts on processes that today dermatology considers fundamental in sagging and wrinkles of the arm, cellular oxidation, collagen degradation, and progressive loss of elasticity. Before explaining the mechanisms, I want you to understand something important. Sagging of the arm does not appear from one day to the next. It is a cumulative process. It is not just age, it is a combination of 3 factors: loss of structural collagen, weakening of elastin, and progressive thinning of the dermis, and most importantly, a reduction in the ability of the skin of the arm to repair itself after daily microdamage. Each exposure to the sun on uncovered arms, each friction from clothing, each mild inflammation from friction or dryness leaves a microscopic mark. And over the years, the sum of those marks is what you see in the mirror as sagging, fine wrinkles, and loss of firmness. That is why the difficult part is not hydrating the skin. The difficult part is reactivating the internal mechanisms that keep it firm in an area as exposed as the arm. And that is where the bioactive compounds of certain vegetable oils come into play. What I am going to explain to you now are the 5 main mechanisms by which this type of oils can influence the appearance of the skin of the arm. Not in a superficial way, but at a structural level. And this is important to understand well, because when we talk about aging of the skin of the arm, we are not talking only about dryness or texture. We are talking about deep biological changes that occur in different layers of the skin. Epidermis, dermis, and subcutaneous tissue. In the arm, these changes are especially visible because the skin is more exposed, more mobile, and loses support faster over time. That is why these mechanisms do not act on a single point, but on different levels of the skin tissue at the same time. The first mechanism is the stimulation of fibroblasts. Fibroblasts are the cells responsible for producing collagen and elastin. Think of them as the internal factories of firmness of your skin. Over time, these factories do not disappear, but they do reduce their activity. This is key. Skin aging of the arm does not occur only because cells are missing, but because the existing cells work more slowly. It is like a factory that is still intact, but with less daily production, especially in exposed areas such as the arms, where environmental damage is constant. Various studies in dermal models have observed that certain fatty acids present in rosehip oil can stimulate fibroblastic activity, increasing the synthesis of type 2 collagen. And this is key because type 1 collagen is the main responsible for the firm structure of the arm. Here it is important to add something else. Collagen is not a single homogeneous structure, but a 3-dimensional network that acts as a biological scaffold in the dermis of the arm. When that network weakens, the skin loses its internal support and begins to descend due to gravity, forming folds and visible wrinkles. The second mechanism is the reduction of local oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is one of the major accelerators of sagging and wrinkles of the arm. It is the accumulated damage from free radicals generated by the sun, pollution, and natural metabolic processes. In the arms, this effect is usually more pronounced because they are areas frequently exposed without protection, which accelerates oxidative damage in the dermis. What is important here is to understand that free radicals are not only something external, but normal byproducts of cellular metabolism itself. The problem appears when their production exceeds the antioxidant capacity of the body. When this damage exceeds the repair capacity of the body, the collagen fibers of the arm break down faster than they regenerate. In addition, this process not only affects collagen, but also cellular membranes, which reduces the overall efficiency of fibroblasts in the area of the arm. The lipid antioxidants present in these oils help to neutralize part of that process, reducing the progressive degradation of the dermal matrix. And here's a key point that is often overlooked. Oxidative stress is not a one-time event, but a daily cumulative process. That is why small sustained reductions over time can have a significant impact on the appearance of sagging of the arm. The third mechanism is the improvement of the skin barrier. The aging skin of the arm loses natural lipids, which causes deep dehydration. The skin barrier is made up of ceramides, cholesterol, and fatty acids that function as a biological cement between skin cells. When that cement deteriorates, the skin of the arm becomes more permeable, loses water more easily, and becomes more fragile against external aggression such as the sun, friction, and constant washing. And dehydrated skin of the arm not only looks drier, it also looks more saggy and wrinkled because the lack of structural water reduces the internal volume of the dermis. These oils help restore the lipid layer, reducing transepidermal water loss and improving the turgor of the skin of the arm. In addition, this effect is not only superficial. A stronger skin barrier also improves cellular communication between the layers of the skin, which favors a more stable environment regeneration. The fourth mechanism is the modulation of mild chronic inflammation. With age, the skin of the arm enters a state of constant silent inflammation. This is known in dermatology as inflammaging, a combination of inflammation and aging that accelerates collagen degradation. It is not visible like a wound, but it is present at the cellular level. This chronic inflammation progressively degrades collagen in the arm, weakening the support structure of the skin. The problem is that this degradation does not stop at rest. It continues even without evident external stimuli, which causes sagging of the arm to progress continuously over time. Some natural compounds help reduce the expression of local inflammatory mediators, favoring a more stable environment for skin regeneration. This includes the reduction of inflammatory cytokines that, when chronically elevated, interfere with the normal repair processes of the skin of the arm. The fifth mechanism is the improvement of superficial microcirculation. The skin of the arm over time receives less efficient blood flow. This is a point that is often underestimated, but it is fundamental in sagging of the arm. Blood not only transports oxygen, but also amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and growth factors necessary for tissue repair. Less flow means less oxygen, fewer nutrients, and lower repair capacity in the area of the arm. In addition, poor microcirculation also affects the elimination of metabolic waste, which creates a less optimal environment for cellular regeneration. Certain oils, through constant massage, can promote local microcirculation in the arm, which indirectly improves cellular regeneration and the appearance of firmness. Remember to subscribe to the channel to keep taking care of your skin. And here, an additional very important factor comes in. Massage is not only mechanical, it also has a neurosensory effect that influences the local vascular response. Now connect all of this. More active fibroblasts, less oxidative stress, better structural hydration, less inflammation, and greater circulation. If you analyze it carefully, we are not talking about 5 isolated benefits, but about 5 different biological systems that converge into the same final result. the progressive reduction of sagging and wrinkles of the arm. Now, about its application. And this point is more important than it seems because many people assume that more product equals more effect, when in reality, the skin of the arm works under a completely different principle. Saturation does not improve the biological response, and in many cases, it can even reduce effective absorption by altering the natural lipid barrier. 2 drops are usually enough for both areas of the arm. This is because the skin has a limited absorption capacity per area, especially when we are talking about oils rich in lipids. An excessive amount is not absorbed faster, but simply remains on the surface, creating an occlusive film that does not necessarily provide additional benefits. In the case of the arm, this is even more relevant because it is a large area, but with a lower density of sebaceous glands than the face, which makes the distribution of the product depend much more on the massage than on the amount applied. It is applied on slightly damp skin after the shower because this improves lipid absorption. Here, there is an important physiological detail. When the skin is slightly damp, the stratum corneum is in a state of greater permeability. This facilitates the incorporation of external lipids into the skin matrix, improving the integration of the oil with the natural barrier of the skin. In addition, the residual water on the surface acts as a vehicle that facilitates a more homogeneous distribution of the product, which in areas such as the arm allows covering larger areas with a smaller amount, and always through upward massage because mechanical stimulation also influences microcirculation. This point is not just an aesthetic recommendation, but a physiological one. Massage generates mechanical stimulation on superficial capillaries, promoting local vasodilation. This slightly increases blood flow in the area of the arm, which improves the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the dermal tissues. In addition, the upward movement helps lymphatic drainage, which can reduce the sensation of heaviness, mild fluid retention, and the appearance of sagging skin, especially in the back part of the arm, where sagging is usually more visible. Write oil in the comments if you commit to starting to use it from today. Something important. Excessive heat can alter the stability of some antioxidant compounds, which is why it is not recommended to apply it immediately before intense direct sun exposure without protection. And here it is important to understand that this is not only a matter of comfort or cosmetic routine, but of molecular stability. Many of the bioactive compounds present in vegetable oils are sensitive to environmental factors such as temperature, ultraviolet light, and oxidation by environmental oxygen. When these factors combine, especially in exposed areas such as the arm, they can accelerate the degradation of these compounds, progressively reducing their antioxidant capacity. This happens because certain bioactive compounds present in vegetable oils are sensitive to thermal oxidation and photooxidation. When they are exposed to intense UV radiation or high temperatures, they can partially degrade, reducing their antioxidant effectiveness. In the arm, this is especially relevant since it is one of the areas most exposed to the sun during the day. In addition, the constant exposure of the arms to direct solar radiation makes any product applied in that area be subjected to a more aggressive environment than in other parts of the body, which increases the importance of correct application and subsequent protection. In addition, this process not only affects the antioxidant power of the oil, but also its interaction with the skin barrier. When the skin of the arm is already weakened by aging, sun exposure without adequate protection can increase transepidermal water loss, accelerate the degradation of existing collagen, and reduce the natural recovery capacity of the dermis. That is why the context of use is as important as the product itself. There are also people who combine it with other natural ingredients, such as aloe vera or vitamin E, which can enhance the sensation of superficial hydration, although the main biological the same. And these combinations are common because they seek to reinforce the immediate sensory effect, especially in areas such as the arm, where the skin usually feels drier or rougher. However, it is important to differentiate between immediate cosmetic effect and deep biological effect. Aloe vera provides polysaccharides with a humectant effect, which increases water retention in the superficial layers of the skin of the arm, improving the immediate sensation of softness. In addition, these polysaccharides form a kind of hydrating film that helps reduce water loss during the first hours after application. Vitamin E, on the other hand, acts as a fat-soluble antioxidant, helping to stabilize part of the superficial oxidative stress and partially protecting the lipids of the skin against oxidative degradation. Share this video on WhatsApp with friends and family. Discover the simple habit that prevents wrinkles and makes you look younger. Click here. See you in the next video.